It's honestly so hard to fathom that we have made it into the second half of 2026. So what better way to bring in the second half of this year than with a mid-year book tag? Last week I was watching YouTube and a new to me creator popped up on my timeline doing this exact same video. So I wanted to take the questions from her video and incorporate it in mine. But before we get started, I want to say I've had so much fun reading this year out of all the years I've been reading. I've been reading for the past 3 years, and I want to say this year I have broadened my horizon with the genres and books that I've read. I'm utilizing my library so much this year. I think 98% of the books that I've read this year have been from the library, and I go into most of every book blind. And honestly, that's the best experience for me with reading. So I'm gonna keep doing the same thing for the rest of the year. All right, I don't want to hold this up any longer, so let's get started. Question number 1 is the best book that I've read so far in 2026, and that one will have to go to Score by Kennedy Ryan. Funny enough, actually, this month, at the beginning of the month, I read Real and Score, which is a part of the Hollywood Renaissance series. And although Real was good, I will have to give this one to Score because of the premise of the book. Now, the female main character suffers from bipolar 1 disorder, and someone very close to me and my family also has the same diagnosis. So being able to witness my family member deal with this disorder and the FMC in the book deal with this same exact disorder was very eye-opening to me. It made me have a new perspective for people that suffer with bipolar 1, especially when it comes to the hyperfixation on certain things. Like in the book, the female had a hypersexualized experience, so she was just wilding out. She tried to get with her man in front of people in the studio that he was working at the time. Then she went to a bar and started randomly mingling with certain men and being very promiscuous in front of these men, although she has a boyfriend. And then some things went down in the bathroom at the bar and she got caught, but you get the idea. Being hypersexualized is a part of the disorder, and that was a hypermanic episode right before she went into full-blown mania. And when I was talking with this family member about their experience with bipolar 1, they told me vaguely similar, if not parallel things that the girl went through in the book to their actual real-life personal experience. And it just opened my eye and made me empathize with this family member because they've been dealing with it for a while now. And I just want to say you are very strong and I love you so much. And even aside from the mental health aspect of this book, the second chance romance with Monk, who is the MMC and the FMC, was just a beautiful experience to have read. But that was on the latter half because the first half of the relationship was pretty tumultuous because of her undiagnosed mental disorder. So I'm definitely excited to see what Kennedy Ryan has in store for the rest of this series. Question number 2 is the worst book that I've read so far this year, and that unfortunately has to go to a book titled Trust Me by Hank Felipe Ryan. This book I read last month, and I did a June reading wrap up discussing this entire book. But if you did not watch that video, I was saying how in this book we're following along the story of 2 women. One of the women is being accused of a very heinous murder that she allegedly did to her daughter. And the second woman is a grieving mother who is a journalist, and she is hyperfixating on the murder trial that is going on with this alleged murderer. Now, later on in this book, these 2 women eventually have to be allied together and live in close quarters to one another. And the alleged murderer is basically trying to manipulate the grieving mom in one of the most difficult times of her life. And I was also discussing how the author was using the real life case of Casey Anthony that happened here in Florida as parallels to what was going on in the actual book. I didn't have any problem with that, but the problem that I did have was that I felt the climax of the story and the plot twist of this story was anticlimactic, and I feel like I wasted so much time reading that book. I couldn't care less what happened at the end of the book, honestly. And when it got to the point of revealing the actual plot twist, I was like, what? Nah, I don't care. Let me just move on to the next book and just forget that I ever read this one. So that's why that was the worst book I've read so far in 2026. Hold on, let me make sure my jewelry is straight. If you guys have been watching my videos recently, you have noticed that I've been wearing my Ana Luisa jewelry, and they have gifted me some new pieces for this video today. I've been wearing my Ana Luisa pieces for about 2 months now, and I can say the quality is holding up so well. I wear this jewelry in the shower, I wear it to exercise while I'm sweating. I even wear it to sleep and it has not tarnished once. The quality is amazing, and you also have a 2-year backed warranty with every single piece of jewelry on their website. The first piece that I received today is the initial necklace with the letter J for Jaylene, obviously. Now that I have 2 necklaces from Ana Luisa, I'm able to stack them, which they complement each other very easily and flawlessly. These necklaces are extremely lightweight, very dainty, and they can go with any outfit that you're wearing. Then the next two pieces of jewelry I received are these stackable earrings. These in my second haul are called the Tata earrings. It's so funny because when I was putting these earrings in my second haul, which I haven't worn earrings in my second haul in such a long time, they went in seamlessly with no issues, and they honestly just look really cute, and I love that you're able to stack the earrings as well. Then the second pair of earrings I received are called the Eden earrings, and these are the ones in my first haul. They're like a checkered silver and white piece of jewelry, and they are beautiful. The versatility of these earrings are impeccable because you can either dress them up with a really nice outfit for going out on the town, date night with your significant other, or you can even keep it simple and casual with a basic outfit like I'm wearing today to go book shopping, go to the library, or just read a book at home. I've intentionally been wearing these earrings in the shower, especially on my wash days when I constantly have water running over my head and my ears, and these have not tarnished once. They don't make my ears itchy, and they're just super cute stacked up. Like, you can't tell me you don't like these earrings. If you're looking for staple pieces of jewelry to wear in your daily life, make sure to check them out. I'll have all three pieces of jewelry that I am wearing today linked down in the description, and make sure to use my discount code Jaylenepryorreads20 at checkout to get a little coin off of your purchase. Now let's get back to the questions. Question number 3 is the best sequel that I've read, and that has to go to Eternal Ruin by Tigist Germa. I read this at the beginning of the year in a vlog, and as some of you know, I am not the strongest fantasy reader, but I ate this book up immersively with the audiobook. The entire premise of the Immortal Dark series is that it's about vampires and humans coexisting at one magical underground school. And Kadan, who is a female main character in this series, has ties to this vampiric magical university, and there's also artifacts at this university that belong to her family, which she has to uncover, while also living with the alleged kidnapper of her sister in her family's house at the university. That was a lot to digest. If you've read this book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the reason I think this is the best sequel that I've read so far this year is because, number one, I haven't read many series this year. I've probably read 2 or 3 at most. And this was the most fun I had reading this book because it was a new world that I have never read about before. And after reading this, I do like dark academia themed books, especially written by Black authors. And just like book 1, the second book also ended on a cliffhanger. So we're going to see if the allies stay strong in book number 3 and who the villains are going to be in book number 3, which also releases, I want to say, January of 2027, and that one's called Infernal Vow, I believe, and that'll wrap up the Immortal Dark series altogether. So I don't want this series to end. Thankfully, the third book's not going to come out for another 7 months or so I have time to cope with this series ending. The next question is a new release that I want to read that I have not gotten to yet, and that is The Art of Loving You by Natasha Bishop. This is the second book, a part of the Forever Falling series, which is an interconnected romance series, and I just know that this is a second chance romance. That's literally all I know about it. I'm just going to read the synopsis real quick so that you and I both know what this book is about. Danny Jenkins is a boss, a model turned influencer. She doesn't have time for taking a risk on romance. She prefers to keep things casual, but when her mentor Tanya dies, she is brought face to face with the man who broke her heart. Author Micah Wright is a protector who loves fiercely. He's known as a man that everyone can count on, but he has never forgiven himself for letting down Danny, the woman he still loves. And it says, I only have 2 rules: do it together and make magic. So this sounds like a lot of fun. The cover is beautiful. I know it's very deceptive, like it's going to be a nice fluffy romance. It is heartbreaking. There is a lot of grief and trauma going on in this book, and that's honestly right up my alley. I don't like a romance that's too fluffy. I need to have a little tension going on in my romances, so this should be fun. Ooh, this question I really like, which is the most anticipated read that I want to read for the second half of the year. I will say it's not a particular book, but it's a particular author, and that is Tananarive Due. Because we're getting into the second half of the year, I want to read more horror and paranormal books, and I know that's what she dabbles in a lot, and that's because I read The Reformatory at the beginning of the year, and that was a historical paranormal horror book, and I was obsessed, y'all. I love that book so much. It was all about ghosts and haunts, and I've never read about haunts before until I read that book, and I loved the premise of it. And the reason I think I love that book so much and talk about it so much is because Tananarive used actual real life events particular to her life because she had a family member who actually attended the reformatory school for boys here in Florida, and that made it a bit more chilling because these are actual events that happened to someone that she knew. And even not people that she knows, like people that actually went to this reformatory school for boys, which is a fucked up school that they had here in Florida. And she has a couple more books that I want to pop up on the screen right here that I need to read sometime in the future. Maybe not this year, maybe going into next year, but I really want to try to squeeze those in like November, October when spooky season comes around. The biggest surprise, that book will have to go to The Women by Kristen Hanna. At the time that I read The Women, that was the first time I read a Kristen Hanna book. I went in blind, as you all know, and I was taken aback. I was taken so aback because the premise of the book, it was about a girl who wanted to follow her brother into the Vietnam War. So she decided to go to the army, I believe, and she wanted to apply to become a combat nurse. And that was in order to follow her brother into the war because she loved him so much. Fast forward, he died. She still had to go to war, and she experienced some of the most heinous events of her life that nobody should have to go through. But unfortunately, war is a real thing. People have to be in the military in order to fight for our country. So I can see how the stories in this book can be portrayed into real people's lives and what they have experienced and what they're currently experiencing right now in war. Then when the female character got home, she was ridiculed for being a woman in the military. She was constantly told to her face that there was never women in Vietnam to fight in a war when she was literally flesh and blood in the Vietnam War, lived to tell the tales of her experiences out there. And it made me very empathetic for her situation because she was basically being told to her face that she's a liar. She tried to use resources to help deal with her undiagnosed PTSD, but she was just turned away constantly whenever she went to like these meetings for veterans to get assistance. She was told she was never a veteran, such that she just needed to leave. And that's very heartbreaking because how are you going to tell me I'm not a veteran when I was just fighting for my life for the past 2 years, I think she was, in Vietnam. And it was just so fucked up, and I felt bad for her. And the worst part is that her father shunned her away, basically, because I think that he was just mad that his son died in war and that his daughter came back alive. And he didn't want to show his appreciation for her and show that he was proud of her, so he just basically shunned her away. Father of the Year. Because I read this book, I will definitely have to turn to Kristen Hanna more, but it was a very sad book, and I know a lot of her books are sad, like The Nightingale, so I need to take time reading Kristen Hanna books because I don't want to put myself in a bad mood emotionally just to read a book. The next question is new favorite author to me or debut author. I'm going to bend this question a little bit because I have two people. Number one is Kennedy Ryan with an asterisk, and that's because 2 years ago I read Before I Let Go, and I was not in love with it. Honestly, it was a very slow burn for me, and I put her down up until I read the Hollywood Renaissance series. So I guess she's a new reborn author to me, and I really like her books. So I want to read the Long Shot series or Hook'em series. What the fuck is it called? The basketball series. You guys know what I'm talking about. And a couple other books on her back catalog. So I'll eventually get to those. But another author that I do want to highlight is an author that I read last month by the name of L.S. Lane. And she sent me her book called Enough. I also talked about this book in my June reading wrap up. She personally reached out to me to send me her book, which was amazingly beautiful. It is like a workplace romantic drama. If that's your cup of tea, I highly recommend reading this one. But so I don't have to repeat myself with a synopsis of this book, make sure to go watch my June reading wrap up where I talk about this book in grave detail. The next question is new fictional crush. And that, I keep talking about this fucking series, but it's so good. It's the Harlem Renaissance series by Kennedy Ryan. Book number 1, it's canon, obviously. He is a world-renowned, very well-known director, and he is directing a new movie but with a lead that pretty much goes against the grain, a woman that nobody knows, but he wants to give her a shot because he pretty much fell in love at first sight with her. But he is such a charismatic, loving man who puts his woman first, and that's because everyone around him was telling him, why is she gonna be in your movie? She's a nobody. But he saw her for who she is, saw her true and raw talent, and she's just a woman that he has never encountered before. And he's encountered a lot of women, especially with his title and his role in his career, but she was was just someone different for him, and that's what made him fall in love with her. Then the second man, I got two crushes, okay? Don't judge me. And that is Monk from book number 2 in Score. He is a musical protege and also the ex-boyfriend to the female main character in that book. He was such a sweetheart when they first met in college. The way that they got together was because of a threesome, basically. The female main character is bisexual, so Monk decided to have a threesome with the female main character, her little fling at the time, which was another woman, and himself. But he told her that he does not like sharing his women, so if she's gonna be his, she needs to be only his and monogamous. And the fact that he decided to give the female main character a second chance at love with him after everything that they experienced in their past with her manic episodes in college, then them disappearing from each other's lives and being reunited for the movie that was filmed in book 1 in real, was something to be read. It felt like I was watching a movie while reading that book. But those two men are just ideal crushes for me. This next question is a book that made me cry. I'm gonna make an exception because I think I read this book at the end of last year, but I constantly talk about it, and whenever people say they want a book that's gonna make them cry and make them really sad, I always suggest Still by Kiera Cache. This is also a second chance romance, but one that is extremely sad, obviously. If I remember correctly, it is about a woman. She is some sort of caregiver, whether it's a CNA or a nurse, something in that realm. She gets a call one day from her ex-boyfriend's mother. He is like terminally ill, pretty much on the brink of life, about to pass. So she was asked by his mom to come take care of him in his last days. When she gets to his bedside and they start discussing their past and old wounds are reopened and they have to hash out everything that went on in their past as they once were in love together. Oh, I'm already getting choked up now thinking about this book. All I can say is that they were able to close that chapter of their life and they were able to have closure with one another. I read this book for a vlog and I had to cut the camera off because I was actually crying. I have never cried from a book in my life. My husband can attest to this. He's never seen me cry from a book except for this one book, and he walked up the stairs mid-cry. He was like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like wiping away my tears, like, no. I was crying, girl. Straight up tears falling down my face. And I'll say it's an easy read in terms of length of the book. I want to say it's like 150 pages, but it is so profound and powerful and gut-wrenching. There's going to be so many emotions pulled out of you because of this book, so please go read it. Now, on the flip side, what is a book that made me happy? And this might be a little fucked up, but The Weight in Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson made me happy because of the absolute revenge that our female main character got. This is like a Carrie retelling, so if you watch the movie Carrie, you'll understand what this book is about, but it is about a biracial girl. She goes to school in a predominantly white racist town, and she basically has to whitewash herself and hide her true identity of being half black. In school, she gets her hair wet because it's raining, and of course, when a person with curly textured hair like myself gets her hair wet, obviously mine's already an afro, but you get the idea. Poof, hair grows toward the sun, it gets frizzy, and you see the real texture of somebody's hair. And because of this, a lot of her classmates, if not all her classmates and people in her school, started to bully her because of her texture of her hair, and now they found out that she is half black. Then one day her classmates decide to pull a prank on her, and it turned the town upside down. And not even to mention, in this town and in this high school particularly, they have segregated school dances like prom, which was fucking weird and racist, and I don't know how anybody in that town let that shit slide. So it comes prom night and everything went down on prom night is all I gotta say. There is a touch of like a fantasy magical element in this book, and the reason that this book made me so happy is because our female main character absolutely got revenge on everybody that treated her wrong in this whole book. She fucked that town up, like straight up killing people, setting shit on fire. It was a time to be had because I was on her side wholeheartedly. So I had fun reading it. We are getting down to the last two questions. So this next one is the most beautiful book that I have bought and I recently bought Where the Wildflowers Grow by Tara Shelton Harris. I bought this in a Barnes & Noble reading vlog that I did about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Beautiful cover. I love the sprayed edges, love flowers, as you can tell. Well, you can't really see, but I have a sunflower on my bookshelf back there, and I have a plant, a bamboo plant on my desk right there. So anything that's floral or green that grows from the earth, I love it. Don't know what this book is about either. I just know it's not a very sweet, whimsical type of book. I just know that there is some grief that goes on this book, some trauma, generational trauma, and family issues. So this should be a time when I read this eventually. I don't know when I'm going to get to these new releases that I bought a while ago. Eventually. And the very last question that I have is books that I want to read before the end of the year. These are the books that I just quickly pulled off of my bookshelf. The top one is The Hate That You Give. I took this from my cousin's bookshelf at my aunt's house. I talked about this book in my banned books to read video, and I also want to watch the TV adaptation of this book as well, so this should be really fun to read. I talked about this book earlier, The Art of Loving You by Natasha Bishop, Where the Wildflowers Grow, James by Percival Everett. I am waiting for the audiobook to be available to me on Libby so that I can mercifully read this book, take my time with it, digest every single piece of amazing words in this book, because I've heard this book is absolutely amazing. So I want to take my time with this one. And yesterday I actually received this book as an advanced reader copy from a publisher. I'll put the name of the publisher on the screen, but this is a Appalachian Gothic novel. It's very interesting actually. This says the night shift at the Holloway was supposed to be quiet when grad student Ethan clocks in as night auditor at the aging Holloway Mountains resort. He expects paperwork, silence, and a paycheck. Instead, reddish-brown lights bleed across the Appalachian sky. Hard winds whip through the trees without making a sound, and mysterious owl gargoyles come to life. At 3 a.m., every clock stops. Trapped inside with his co-worker Cal and Teresa, Ethan realizes the hotel isn't just old. It's a boundary. Something ancient has been waiting and is now awakened. To escape, they must uncover the Holloway's secrets, even as unexpected love blossoms between Ethan and Teresa. Gothic romance meets Appalachian folk horror, where the mountains are watching and the dark leaves marks. And the cover is extremely beautiful. You have like a Victorian mansion that's upside down and a woman that looks like a siren for some reason, with flies coming out of her mouth and like open sores on her face. So this should be extremely entertaining to read, and I can't wait to crack it open. So yeah, that is my mid-year book tag that I wanted to share with you guys. Make sure to give the creator that I tagged in this video some love on her video. And before I go, make sure to check out every piece of jewelry that I'm wearing in this video today. Use my discount code Jaylenepryorreads20 at checkout to get some money off of your purchase. And thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.